Hello everyone, I'm Darkside Phil, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding the latest video game releases. And today, I have to start this review with a heavy-hearted sigh. Because as you guys know, I have been an avid fan of the Assassin's Creed series for some time. I've played every single Assassin's Creed game since Part 1. I've played the portable versions, I've played the console versions, I've played the 3 versions of Part 2. Yes, I even played Part 3, that was a horrible piece of shit. Last year I played Part 4, which I thought was a really big reinvigoration of the series that a lot of people skipped because they said, man, we were so disappointed by Part 3, we don't want to play Part 4. And we don't like the fact that Ubisoft is pushing out an Assassin's Creed game a year because it really feels like they're starting to rush them and there's problems with these games. And last year, I think Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was an exception to that rule. I think that the game was exceptional. It had a ton of content, an interesting protagonist, a fun story, and it really hit a high. It was one of my favorite games of the year. And so when it was announced that this year there were going to be 2 Assassin's Creed games coming out, one for last gen and one for current gen, everyone was like, you've got to be kidding me, a big groan. Because already people are saying 1 game a year is too much. We feel that they should be taking more time on these games. Let's see them actually take more time and make better games, and instead they decided to rush out even more content, okay? So today we're going to be talking about the next-gen title this year, Assassin's Creed Unity, which I played on the PS4, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I could go into a huge, really super detailed edition review here where I could tell you all about every aspect of the game. It's very simple. When it comes to Assassin's Creed, you know what to expect because you've played them all before. If you've never played an Assassin's Creed game, maybe you wouldn't understand, but most of the people have played an Assassin's Creed game by this point. What I'm going to tell you are the things that they changed about Assassin's Creed Unity, the things that are good at and it's bad at, and my overall view of the game, and you're probably going to be, if you did not pay attention to the media this week, incredibly shocked at what I have to say. Assassin's Creed Unity is set in revolutionary France. And you might say, wow, that's a great location. That sounds like something really interesting, a fun time in history when all this crazy revolution was going on. You had different parties involved in overthrowing the king. Eventually, Napoleon came to power and all this stuff, right? Unfortunately, Assassin's Creed Unity decides to actually pass by a lot of the fun historical stuff that happened during that time period and instead focus on a duo of protagonists. Yeah, for the first time ever, there's actually a duo, 2 people who are really the protagonists of this game. You have Arno, who is the orphaned son of someone who gets, or a very high up kind of French dignitary who gets assassinated when he's a child, and then gets adopted by another kind of high up French dignitary, and has kind of almost an adopted sister named Elise. The 2 of them grow up together. Eventually they're separated later on when, unfortunately, Elise's father is horribly murdered. And then they get thrown into the world of the Assassins versus the Templars as they find out that all of the upper class in France are involved as either Assassins or Templars in this whole underground society of assassins and all this, and yada yada yada. It's the usual Assassins versus Templars story that you would expect from the Assassin's Creed universe. And the cool thing, and the one fun thing that I did like, is that during the course of the game, you kind of follow Arno, yes you do, but you also have things involved with Elise, and how Elise's life changed over time, and they intersect and they do stuff together, and it's interesting to see that, and it's the first time really that happens in an Assassin's Creed game. But outside of that, the story of Assassin's Creed Liberation, I almost called it Liberation. Assassin's Creed Unity is horrible. Arno is a boring protagonist. It's kind of like they take 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back. So we had Connor, who most people didn't like as a character in Assassin's Creed 3. He was a whiny bitch and he did things for absolutely no reason, had crazy mood swings and shit, and it was terrible. Assassin's Creed 4, you get Edward Kenway, who's interesting because he's a pirate and he has this dichotomy between does he want to live a serious life and a meaningful one, or just one of whimsy on the high seas and just kind of, torn between different people that he meets throughout the game. He's a much better character. Here, Arno is really just a guy who goes through life being affected by the things around him. Oh, the murder of Elise's father, that's going to affect him. Oh, well, now you get swiped up by the Assassins. Now you're one of the Assassins. Oh, now you find out the Templars are involved. Now you're going after certain Templar. And really never does he seem to have any kind of motivation for himself in the game except that he wants to help out the girl Elise, and that's it. He's a weak lead. He's terrible. And unfortunately, when you have a game like this, you need a strong lead, and he's not. And that's really what happens with this game, is that after you play the game for a few hours and you get into the story, you're kind of wow, he's kind of wishy-washy. He's a boring hero, and really he has no real personality like Edward Kenway or like Ezio did. He's just kind of there to hold a spot. and keep the story moving rather than actually have some kind of interested, kind of personality, interesting personality or anything like that that's going to grip you, okay? The gameplay of Assassin's Creed Unity, oh boy. It seems to me that what they wanted to do with this game was strip away a lot of the stuff that they had added in the previous versions, like the past 2 games, and try to go back to a more of a bare roots kind of a deal. What I mean by that, no naval missions, there's no longer an assassin's clan that you train and send out for side missions. That entire thing has been removed from the game whatsoever, okay? Combat no longer has chain kills, no longer has a lot of the complicated things that were added to the combat over the past few years. It's pretty much just attack several times until you get the opportunity to counter. Counter, and then attack some more. Yes, if someone's going to shoot you, or you can't seem to strike them too much, you can roll, and that's it. There's not even really ways to break through someone's guard. You're not going to be switching between weapons on the fly during combat. It's very simplified, almost as if they wanted to go back to the days of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. Parkour is good and bad, and let me explain why. It's good because it's more free-flowing than ever before. Pretty much anything that you see you can grab. You jump longer than you used to be able to without getting upgrades in the game, which is great. You can, for the first time ever in an Assassin's Creed game, fall off of ledges intelligently. So when you press circle, you don't just fall to your death, right? You can actually semi-scale down the wall. It makes it a lot easier to decline yourself or come down from a high ledge than it was ever before. A lot of the times you get to the top of a high area, and if there was no haystack to jump in, you'd be like, fuck, how do I get down now? It's going to take me forever. Not so in this game. They did improve that. But the parkour is wonky as shit. And what I mean by that is now, because it's so advanced, right? You're running and there's a tower with a ladder. Well, if you're not pinpoint accurate where you're aiming, you may go for the ladder. Oops, nope, I grabbed a ledge over here and there was nothing above it, so now I'm stuck, and now all the guys that were chasing you destroy you because you didn't happen to grab the ladder. Same thing when you're scaling buildings. Sometimes you'll go to grab a ledge, but instead you grab a windowsill. All you want to do is go in this window, and you end up dancing around the window for a minute before you finally get into the window because he's grabbing every other thing but what you want to actually do during parkour. So the more advanced the parkour engine got in Assassin's Creed, it actually made it overly complicated to the point where it's very hard to even focus in on something that you want to fucking do. It's annoying and it's frustrating. One of the major changes this year is that unlike previous years where, if you remember, you would get to a certain point in the game and then maybe they would say, oh, you unlocked the hook, so now you can do super jumps and, latch on to higher stuff you couldn't do before. It's not like that anymore. It's not game-based progression based on where you are in the game. Now it's actually based on upgrade points. So over the course of the game, as you progress and you complete either side missions or mostly story missions, you'll get assassin points that you can now put into stats that allow you to upgrade your ability. So on the fly, you're very basic. You have basic assassination and maybe some basic combat abilities, and that's it. You'll immediately want to start unlocking some of your favorite things from previous Assassin's Creed games, such as the double assassination, more health. Those kind of things you have to unlock through this point system. So a lot of people might be turned off and say, we're so used to it kind of being naturally added to the game. Or maybe you find that cool new piece of armor that adds, extra health. Here it's more like just earn the points and grind through the system to upgrade your character. So it's different. I don't want to say necessarily if it's better or worse. I just think it's different, and a lot of people may be thrown off by that system, okay? Side content in the game. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's limited because there's very few big varieties of side content. First of all, the main thing that you would do in most Assassin's Creed games are the environmental thing. Oh, someone's getting robbed, you have to stop the person who robbed them. Uh-oh, there's a fight breaking out, can you defend a certain group of people? Yes, that's still present in the game, but in this game there's literally maybe 4 different scenarios where you're helping the citizens, and that's it. So once you've done it, all 4 scenarios, the rest of the game you're just randomly running into the same shit over and over, and it gets repetitive after just a few hours, which is really disappointing. There are these new side content things called murder mysteries, where you actually see people who got killed throughout France, and a lot of the times it's actually a historical figure. You can look up online and see, oh wow, this person really did get murdered in France, and there was a big court case about who did it and whatever. You're going to use your eagle vision to look around and try to investigate to find out who done it, who killed this person. And sometimes it'll be as simple as you'll read 2 book things that were on shelves, a diary and a book and a letter, and then there's one person standing there. Well, obviously they must have done it because they're the only person around. You accuse them, it ends, and you get rewarded immediately with maybe a new weapon or a new piece of clothing or something interesting. Other mysteries are incredibly cryptic. You have to go to multiple places around the map. There was one I had to go to 8 different fucking locations, interrogate a ton of people, get all this evidence, and by the end I had no fucking clue who did it. I just kind of randomly grabbed someone and said, I think you did it, and it said you passed, but you did a false accusation first, which I was like, no I didn't, I accused one person, and it says that it was correct. How is it a false accusation? So it's incredibly stupid, these murder mystery missions. Some of them are super easy and you get a great reward. Some of them are super complicated and you get a good reward. But they're just dumb. They really are. They're dumb. The big thing about Unity, the big thing that of course Ubisoft was hyping up before, oh, it's got co-op now. Oh, co-op missions. Now, if you guys played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, it had co-op. The thing was, the co-op in Black Flag was set in a separate multiplayer mode outside of the campaign of the game, and of course you had your other multiplayer modes from all the way back in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood when they started. You know, the assassination, the stealth stuff, trying to figure out people in disguise. That multiplayer mode is completely missing from this game. The only multiplayer mode present in Assassin's Creed Unity is co-op between 2 or 4 players. And I'm going to tell you right now, I played 2 of these missions. One of them I actually did during my campaign, and I actually did take the time, not recording, but I played one other one. They're boring and they're just fucking stupid. There's no point in doing them, because even though they're integrated into the campaign and they're all over the map, all you get for reward, okay, you've got some money and maybe you got a piece of clothing, great. But why do you need to do it? And the answer is you don't. It doesn't help you progress in the story. It doesn't actually aid anything besides maybe if you want to get a ton of money when you really didn't earn it because you just did a silly online mission. And the other thing is, in the online missions, a lot of the times, you don't have to be stealthy to win. You can just be a fucking asshole because there's 4 people working together, rush into an area, throw 100 smoke bombs down, throw daggers, pull out guns and shooting. You know, the opposite of what an assassin would do, and you can easily win the multiplayer missions doing stupid shit like that. So, really, the Unity could come out without any co-op whatsoever, and it would have been the same fucking game. They really don't add anything to the game. They're not necessary for the game, and they don't belong in the game. It's incredibly out of place. It's kind of like, why the fuck is this in the game? And I think really it's because they wanted to say, well, there's an online component, and you know, we didn't put the full multiplayer in, but there is an online component, so people wouldn't complain. Unity? There's no unity in this game. There's no reason for you to ever team up with other people. It's a completely separate single-player campaign like there is every year in Assassin's Creed, and this is a joke. This even naming the game this is a joke. It has nothing really to do with the game. It's completely superfluous, and it's a waste of fucking time. If you have a few friends you want to team up with and do some of these missions, great, but it's nothing amazing, and I'm disappointed because I'll be honest, I was looking forward to this year maybe teaming up with some fans or viewers and doing these missions. After I did one of them, I was like, I don't even care. There's no point in doing this. I thought it was going to be integrated into the campaign, it was going to be important, and it's completely a waste of time and just superfluous to anything. It's basically, they fucking phoned it in. Dumb. Now outside of that, of course, you're going to have your typical look for certain collectibles on walls and stuff like that. There'll be chests all over the city, and I gotta say something about this too. We're gonna put chests throughout France. Great. Oh, but by the way, you can only open 1/3 of them. What? Yeah, because guess what? There's 3 kinds of chests. There's unlocked chests or locked chests. Locked chests you can open up later on once you upgrade your lockpicking skill via the assassin points that I've already mentioned. There's social media chests, which apparently you can't open unless you go onto like their app. They have an Assassin's Creed Unity app companion that you have to do mini games in, that you can unlock the chests in the game. Dear Ubisoft, knock knock, I paid $60 for your fucking game. I don't want to play your stupid app to open a fucking chest that's in the game, asshole. And then there's a third one that I never even understood. It was like chests that have to do with initiates, which is this side thing in the game that syncs your game to previous games that you've played, but it never worked. I went into initiates and it never recognized that I played any other Assassin's Creed game, so therefore I didn't get any credit for any of those chests and I couldn't open them. The game made no sense. The game makes no fucking sense in that regard, okay? Now, before we get into the elephant in the room, the graphics, we're going to get there. There's a few things in the gameplay that I need to address that are just hilariously bad. And for a game to come out in 2014 with issues like this, it's fucking stupid. Number 1, the enemies in this game are expert snipers. And what I mean by that is even the lowest level enemy, while you're fighting someone maybe in a sword fight and you're fighting 2 or 3 dudes and then all of a sudden there's a sniper, okay, I can understand that you would get shot. But if you're running full tilt down the fucking street and someone's alerted or chasing you and they pull out a small flintlock pistol and shoot you from over 100 meters away, how the fuck does that work? There were times in this game when I was running away from multiple dudes mid-flying jump, aerial dodge. So obviously I'm moving in midair, changing direction, hits me immediately, and it takes out a massive amounts of health in this game. Guns in this game are incredibly overpowered. If you get shot, you're almost dead. So imagine at some point in this game you fuck up, an alarm was alerted, big deal. I'll try to escape. Nope, because 5 guys are chasing you and 2 of them are shooting and they're magic, and they hit you no matter what. And I don't know what the fuck, did you not think that that would be annoying, Ubisoft? Like, what happened here? Why is everyone an amazing shot? It's like they have fucking hyper-powered sniper rifles that are homing and they have night vision and they can have infrared tracking and they hit you every fucking time. It makes no sense. In addition to that, the game has clipping issues. What I mean by that is citizens will be walking down the street and then all of a sudden they're on top of a street lamp and then all of a sudden they're on the roof of a building. Yeah, all the time this happens. Citizens will be walking and then disappear and reappear on another floor. You'll be running and all of a sudden you'll literally stop in place and there's nothing there. Like, is there supposed to be a wall here? A tree? Why can't I run? Well, you can't run because you're being chased. Now you're fucked. You're dead. There were multiple times in the game when I was going up a staircase that winded and my characters would be turning and the game camera would rotate into the wall, lock inside of the wall, and make my character stuck on the staircase for no fucking reason. The clipping issues are basically horrible. It's the same kind of issues that happened in Assassin's Creed 3. So I hate to say it, Assassin's Creed 3 had a lot of bugs. This game actually has more than Assassin's Creed 3. It's pathetic. Another issue, when you're in combat, you're fighting maybe 2 or 3 dudes. If the camera rotates the wrong way, guess what? Enemies will literally run onto the camera and they'll have the prompt above their head to counter, but because they were running from off screen, you can't see it and you get hit from behind. It's not your fault. If you had seen the counter icon, you would have known to press the counter button, but you can't. And because, keep in mind, there's no combo executions in this game, if you get attacked by more than 2 to 3 guys, you're fucked. Because after you kill one, you're starting over. You can't just do another kill and another kill like the previous Assassin's Creed games. Now you gotta start another combo and try to counter, and another combo and try to counter. The combat sucks. The parkour is broken because it's too complicated. The side content is boring and superfluous. The plot is good, but the main character is a fucking wet rag who's not interesting whatsoever. And now we're going to get to the final end-all and be-all of the game, the thing that everyone talked about this week, the graphics. The actual amount of detail in Assassin's Creed Unity is impressive. To walk through the streets of France with the amount of people that they put on the street, with the amount of elaborate clothing and detail and all the shit on the walls, looks amazing. At any point during Assassin's Creed Unity, you could probably use your PlayStation share button to make a screenshot and people would look on Twitter and say, oh fuck, this game looks great. But if you actually watch the game in motion, you see it's a horrendous piece of donkey shit. The frame rate in this game rarely hits 30 frames per second. Even in cutscenes, the frame rate dips below 20 frames per second. Anytime you're walking through the street full of people, dips below 20 frames per second. There are entire sequences in the game that if the game had run at 30 frames per second or higher, I can imagine would have been amazing. There's one scene where there's this public execution and there's hundreds of people in an open courtyard. Wow, this would be great, until you try to play the mission and it's chop, 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 and it runs like shit. There's a sequence where you're chasing a hot air balloon over the streets of France and you're running from rooftop to rooftop. Wow, this sequence would look great if it wasn't chop, 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 chop. It's a fucking joke. It really is. It's a hilarious joke. And some people said this week, they reported about halfway through the week, but Phil, didn't you hear that there's this way to fix it? What you gotta do, you unplug your PlayStation 4 from the internet and it fixes it. Guess what? I did it. It didn't solve anything. It did 0 for me. So however it magically fixes it for everyone else, it doesn't fix it for me. To release a $60 game that has horrendous frame rate like this is unacceptable. There's literally fights in the game where if you could have a higher frame rate, you'd be able to react and counter stuff, but you can't. The icon appears too quick because the frame rate's so low and you can't react and you lose. And it's incredibly fucking frustrating. Near the end of the game has an insanely high difficulty spike. And what I mean by that is the game's assassination missions are well thought out but poorly executed. Meaning there may be a mansion, you have to find this guy in the mansion, and there's also an opportunity to recruit some guys down on the ground that'll be a distraction. You can also set up an opportunity where there's maybe fireworks in the background of the mansion so the guards get distracted and you can sneak in some secret way and get to the guy and assassinate him undetected. That's great, and it takes about 45 minutes to set all that up. Or you can run in like a bull in a china shop, charge the fucking guy, dodging all the enemies in the mansion, assassinate him, and then run the fuck out of there and win in 5 seconds. And I'm not kidding you, that's how the missions are in this game. You can actually try to use the things they put in place to make it fun, or you can charge in like an asshole and beat it in 2 seconds, and the answer is, which do you want to do? It depends on how much you're enjoying the game. And the answer also is, if you can't see anything because the frame rate's so fucking low, you probably won't want to take your time to do the elaborate setup. You want to just get through the fucking game, and that's the problem. Assassin's Creed Unity is a game that if everything in the game worked on paper, right, it didn't translate to the game. The co-op missions are completely boring, superfluous, and not needed for the game. They're horrible. If you have a few friends that all bought the game and you want to play them together, maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of it. But once you're done with them, you're like, what was the point of us doing that? It didn't advance the plot. I didn't really need anything that I got out of it, like money or weapons. There's enough in the game as it is. Why did I fucking play these missions? It makes no fucking sense. The side content is very limited and boring for the most part, and repetitive. The frame rate's fucking terrible. The combat is not as good as it used to be. The parkour overcomplicated itself and made itself not as good as it used to be. It's just horrible. If the game ran at 30 frames per second and didn't have all these clipping issues, this game could have been an amazing installment in the Assassin's Creed universe. This game screams lack of polish, rush job. That's exactly what Unity is. A lack of polish rush job. You can tell that the developers were not given enough time to play through it, to test the stuff, to make sure that it was a coherent unit. Just the fact that that multiplayer is superfluous, you don't even need it. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's so dumb. Give me a reason to want to play it, and there's none. So, it's a big fucking disappointment. Assassin's Creed Unity could have been an amazing game, but because it was rushed, because of all the technical issues, because of all the shitty things they did to it, I give Assassin's Creed Unity a 6 out of 10. It's only slightly better than the average game. I actually think it's only slightly better than Assassin's Creed 3. I still think Assassin's Creed 3 was the worst one out of all of them, and I stick to it. That game really was a boring, trudging, horribly paced, buggy piece of crap. This game, if it didn't have the frame rate issues, might have been a little bit better, and I could see that there was hopes of glory in here that weren't well executed. I give it a 6 out of 10. I'll be honest with you guys. If you skipped Black Flag last year, go get Assassin's Creed Rogue or play Black Flag and skip Unity. This game sucks and you shouldn't play it because unless you're a really die-hard Assassin's Creed fan like I am and you wanted to get the absolute every installment, it's not worth your time. It's certainly not worth $60. It's a rush piece of crap. Don't waste your money on it. Alright, that's my review for Assassin's Creed Unity. I hope you feel that I give you maximum truth, minimum bullshit. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time on The Hateful Truth. Peace out.